Alright, so disassembling the VTX forks. You could do this on a 1300 or an 1800 retro or C model. I like doing taking the forks out with the fender as an assembly. That way you can stand them up like this and work. But there's always talk about cross-threading these, and then of course the spring tension and stuff can go flying if you don't watch this. So what I do is I get my 17mm, bear down on it, use your other hand, turn the fork, the opposite direction. The whole time you're putting pressure down with your body. Just keep unscrewing it. And there you go. Now it comes out gently. You can grab everything. Stuff doesn't go flying. Cap, spacer, washer. There you go.
So I like to use an extra long hex socket, number 6. Got it loosened, and the fork piston just popped down into my hand, so I'm using a rag to catch it, and it just comes out, and there you go. That's all there is to that. And this is why it's important to do your fork oil service. I don't know if you can see that, but look at all that crud that's accumulated. I'm not sure if she's ever had her fork serviced, but that is a bunch of crud just sitting down there. I don't think it's metal. No, it's just sludge. It's basically what it is, just a bunch of sludge. So it happens to fork oil. Anyway, and check our other one. See if this one had any on there either. It's got a little bit on the lip, but not as bad. Alright, and next comes the fun part of getting the fork slider tube out of the lower fork leg. Alright, so I got the forks back right side up. The fork center bolts came out, and they also have a bunch of junk on them too, so yep, definitely time. And of course her main problem was her brake caliper side fork. The seal was leaking, and you can tell just by me pumping those forks, you can tell it was pretty bad, whereas the other side still dry. So she definitely had a leak over here. And the way she found out, she went to go grab her front brakes, and obviously didn't have brakes because the fluid was all over the brake pads. So anyway, so next we got to pull the seals up, and then underneath is the stopper ring, the oil seal stopper ring. I have to pry that out pretty easy with a flat blade screwdriver. Just pop those out, and then I will take the fender off and start pulling these apart. Alright, dust seals off. This is the left side. You can see the oil seal nice and dry. Looks like it's doing its job. However, on the right side, the brake side, you can see how wet it is. So that oil seal is definitely failing. So you can see the stopper ring right in there, right there. So we're just going to pop that out. Something over here. Pop that right there. Just grab where it's a little indented and pop that out. And then the forks are ready to be pulled apart. And then the oil seal and the bushings and all that stuff will be revealed once those two are pulled apart. And so I got my little pick here. See how easy this is going to be. So basically just going to go in. Grab that little indentation as best you can. And then just pop that puppy out. Not sure how well you can see that. There we go. And out she comes, maybe. There we go. Came out fairly easy. Same thing on the other side. There we go. Just work it around, come out the other side, bingo. Used fork oil stinks. Whew. Some nasty stuff. Anyway. Alright. See you on the next step. Well, who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I just made pulling these forks apart a lot easier. Well, basically, I just put my hand on the fender, grabbed the fork slider, started popping up, popping up, popping up. Bingo. Don't get any easier than that. And I can tell you how many times we changed some of these seals out and somebody would be on one end of this fork leg and somebody on the other, and you're just yanking each other's arms out of your socket. So that was freaking easy. So yeah, just put your hand on the fender, use it to hold them, bada bing, bada boom. Sucker came out. So there's the oil seal, and then your different bushings on here, and she's getting new ones anyway regardless, because like I said, I don't know if this thing has ever been done. So you can inspect the bushings, and if some of that Teflon coating is worn away, it'll expose copper, just like on this one. You can see, yeah, that's pretty much all the Teflon on that is gone. So yep, she's due for bushings. So cool. Now I know some of you guys like to use the all balls fork seals. I've always used the Honda OEM. I think they're maybe a little bit more expensive than the all balls, but I've just always stuck with the OEM seals, and of course the bushings are OEM as well. So anyway, that was super cool. Taught myself something new, even after 15 years of ownership. So next is the other side. Just pop that out, and we'll be able to clean these up. And there's the oil lock piece down there. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see. It's the center piece down there, but when I turn this back over, that oil lock piece will fall out. That's basically where the fork center bolts, that's what bolts into that to lock that down. So, cool. See you on the next step. Alright, so continued tearing down the fork tubes. So earlier I was calling this the guide bushing. This is the one that sits in the indention, and I was calling the one that actually slides up and down the slider bushing, but that's not correct. This is actually the slider bushing that sits in the indention, and it does not move. This is the guide bushing. So anyway, just clearing up that little statement I made yesterday. Anyway, and I was saying that this one looked good on the outside. Well, it actually doesn't look good. As you can see, all the Teflon, or the majority of the Teflon, has worn away and revealed the copper. So these, in fact, also need to be changed out. So that's how you tell if those things are worn. Since this sits on the indention of the lower fork leg, it doesn't move, but this does obviously rotate. So that's how it got worn down. So anyway, I'm gonna change all those out, getting everything cleaned up. Got the fork tubes and the fork pistons all cleaned up with brake cleaner, and so all the gunk is off. Everything looks good. I'm not going to replace this piece here that sits at the top. Honestly, I don't even remember seeing that as a replaceable item when I was looking at Partzilla. So anyway, they look fine. It basically is just some kind of bushing there. So anyway, everything looks good. Got all the gunk cleaned up off the end of these, and inside sprayed them really well. Got the rest of the gunk out. Same thing with the tubes themselves. I sprayed into all of these openings and got more gunk out, and then shook them out really well. Let them air dry, and so that's pretty much it. Now it's time for reassembly, and that'll go easy. Basically, you're just putting the slider bushings on their indention, and then you do the guide bushing, the backup ring, the oil seal, and then you put those back in, lock it down on the bottom with the center fork bolt, and that's it. And that's pretty much all you have to do. And then you put the dust seal back on top. Of course, you do have to drive the oil seal down, and Honda has a special tool. I wound up buying a Motion Pro fork seal driver, and it's 41 millimeter, which is the diameter of all forks, and so it's gonna be used to drive those puppies back on. So that'll be easy. You basically just drive it down enough until you get to that lip right in there. You just basically drive it down and seat them in there. And I'm sorry, that's not on here, that's on the fork leg. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you basically drive those down, and then that's the lip where the actual stopper ring goes in. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty easy. Alright, so I'm putting the oil seals in, and already put the slider tube in. Then you put the new guide bushing in, and then the backup ring. And that backup ring pretty much takes up this whole diameter. And then just using the driver tool, basically just slide it on, and then all it takes is a couple of taps. This thing's pretty heavy, so I tapped that in, got everything in there. Then I grabbed the new oil seal, put some oil on it, got it in there, and basically I just push it down and get it flush. So I've already done this side, but I push it in flush. And then the trick to not damage this is take your old oil seal, slide it on, put it down on top of that, get your driver, a couple of taps, and that's it, it's in. Then all you got to do is just use a little pry tool, pry that old seal up, and now you're ready. You've got the groove, as you can see right there, and you just put your stopper ring in, and then the dust seal, fill her up to the appropriate level, depending on which springs you're using, and that's it. Pretty easy. All right, here we go on the reinstall. So, got the fork fluid in to the measured amount. Got the spring back in with the tightly wound coils going down. And pull the fork tube up, put your washer, spacer, fork cap, center it on there, 17 millimeter, line her up, make sure she's on there good. Now all you got to do is pull up, push down, start tightening. You can feel right away if you're going to be cross-threading, but just keep going and get it all the way. You're not going to worry about torquing right now. Just get it snug right there. That's it. We're done. Put them back up in the trees, and then torque your lower pinch bolts, torque spec, torque upper, put everything back on, wheel back on, you're done.